Hi friends, let's take another question. Compare MapReduce with Apache Spark. So let's try to understand what is the basic difference between the MapReduce way of programming and Apache Spark way of programming with respect to different dimension. So first one is how much difficult individual paradigm of programming. So if you see, MapReduce is very difficult to program. So whatever your problem statement is, whatever the task you want to solve with a Hadoop MapReduce way, every task you need to convert into sequence of MapReduce kind of task only, and it's always very difficult for the programmer. But Spark is a very easy to program. As Spark is already built on the top of MapReduce, Spark is providing as many as 80 different operators like a like, group by, map, filter, reduce, and there are a lot of other operators are available in case of Spark. Spark is also hiding this MapReduce kind of complexity, and Spark is built on the top of this MapReduce way of programming. So it just hides all complexity required to program this MapReduce way of programming, and for the developer perspective it just gives the clear cut distinction between how to use this Spark API internally, even though it uses this MapReduce way of programming. But from the developer perspective, you do not need to worry about how that works in a parallel fashion on thousands or even tens of thousands of different nodes. So Spark is very easy to program, but MapReduce is a very difficult to program. Those who are Hadoop developer, MapReduce way of programmer, they know about that how to frame any problem into MapReduce way of programming paradigm. It's very difficult. Compared to that, Spark is very easy. Now let's see with respect to interactivity. Now if you see this Hadoop or MapReduce, every time you write the code, you need to build it, you need to compile it, and you need to run it. Small way RALP kind of functionalities are not available, so you just cannot write the program straight away and you can test it. Apart from Hive and Pig, there is no this kind of functionalities are available in case of Hadoop ecosystem. In case of, so you need to use this Hadoop Hive, Apache Hive, for writing HQL, the SQL like a query to execute on the top of this data available on Hadoop distributed file system. And you can use even Pig kind of scripting language, but there is no Scala or Python like a cells are available, so you can just write a single line of statement and you can execute, you can run, and you can learn about it what your data says. But in case of Apache Spark, there is a two full-fledged cells are available. One is a Python cell and one is a Scala cell. So you can start this Python cell by just running this command /PySpark, and Scala cell with the help of /Spark shell command. These are all, both the interpreters are available for the interactivity. So with just single line of statement, you can just execute what you want and immediately get the result while you are doing the prototyping. Streaming. Now MapReduce only supports this batch streaming, so there is no real-time streaming is possible with MapReduce way of programming. So if the datas are available somewhere at the remote location or on your local hard drive, you can convert those data into Hadoop distributed file system HDFS, then only you can process it. But let's say some datas are available in a real-time way, so that data like a Twitter streamings are coming, or some sensors are keep acquiring data about the weather information after every single second. So that is not possible in case of this MapReduce way of programming, because it only supports this batch processing. But in case of Apache Spark, it supports both batch processing and a real-time streaming processing also. So it can read the data either from the local hard drive or your remote location somewhere, or even it can read the data from different columnar database like HBase, or even from the Hadoop distributed file system, And for the real-time streaming in a Spark, Spark streaming softwares are available. If we want to use this strong real-time streaming in case of this MapReduce way of programming, one needs to use this Apache Storm. So Apache Spark is giving one more extra advantage, that this, with the help of this Spark streaming module, we can use this real-time streaming directly inside the Apache Spark. So that is one of the big advantage over MapReduce. Let's see with respect to latency. If you see this MapReduce way of programming, all this data processing, after data processing, data migration from one node to another node, everything after MapReduce happen, all are disk oriented. So once some task got complete, it just saves this data on a disk on your secondary memory. So that IO, writing the data into secondary memory and reading data from the secondary memory, is very time consuming. But in case of Apache Spark, you can even catch this partial or intermediate result into in memory only. So once your map part or some portion of your problem statement has been completed, you can catch those results because you want to use that result later in your data processing task. So you can catch those results, even you can catch those partial result also. So that is one of the very big advantage, that data itself available at an intermediate state in your main memory only, so data can be catched very easily. Now in terms of speed, so everything is very much disk oriented in case of MapReduce. So MapReduce is very slow, but in case of Apache Spark, everything available in memory. It can be a disk oriented also, but we have a lot of options are available whether you want to persist data or not, but by default everything is available in memory. So its computational capability of Apache Spark is tremendously very high. Now let's try to understand why that is slow and Apache Spark is very much fast. Now if you see MapReduce way of programming, once you execute this map part in a case of MapReduce, Hadoop just saves this all those result into disk. Now again it needs to read those data from the disk, and then it just execute this reduce part, and then again save this data to the disk. So there are number of input output IO operations are happening, like saving data to the disk, again reading data from the disk, again saving data to the disk, and that's all happening on a huge amount of data. So that due to this IO operation, the MapReduce way of programming getting very slow. But in case of Apache Spark, once your map part or some part of your data processing has been completed, it just store or retain those data into memory, so no need to read that data again for the further processing, and then again immediately this reduce part or any other rest of the data processing part happens, and you can immediately get the result. So that way it signifies that Apache Spark uses a very high in-memory capability of the machine, so that it's very fast compared to MapReduce way of programming. Apart from that, there are little bit minor differences between MapReduce and Apache Spark, like MapReduce completely dependent on Hadoop. So if Hadoop and HDFS kind of file systems are not available, you cannot use this MapReduce way of programming. MapReduce is completely written in a Java, but in case of Apache Spark, it's completely independent of Hadoop. So if Hadoop is available, that's also okay. If not available, it's also okay. They are using their own cluster management tool in that case, and they use it. And Apache Spark is completely written in a Scala. Scala is a highly interactive cell, you can use it. So it's a interpreter kind of language, so you can immediately test and your prototyping your result. But in case of Java, it's not possible. Apart from that, Apache Spark provide the API in number of different languages like a Python, Scala, R, even Java. So these are all the basic differences between MapReduce way of programming and Apache Spark way of programming. And Apache Spark is definitely significantly much better compared to MapReduce. So a lot of companies are moving from the MapReduce to the Apache Spark. So learning about Apache Spark is become essential those who want to make a career in data analytics. So that's all about this lecture, friends. I hope you enjoy listening this MapReduce way of programming and Apache Spark way of programming. If you think that some of the any differences I have left or I haven't discussed in this tutorial, please write into to comment, and if you haven't subscribed my channel, please do subscribe to support the channel. At last, thank you guys for the watching.